Good evening and happy Thursday. Well, the camera's still at a slant, but I'm not going to alter it. You'll just have to put up with me slanted. I'm very, very late answering these yarn tags that I was, well, not yarn tags, just tags, aren't they? That I was asked to complete. Well, one was from Zoe and Karen, I think it was at the beginning of January. And the second one was from Rosita, who has just completed hers. But they're two completely different yarn tags. So I'll start with Zoe and Karen's. And it says, which of your current whips are you most looking forward to finishing in 2018? Well, I'm not usually one for works in progress. I normally work on something from start to finish. Or I may have two things on the go, especially if I'm knitting and crocheting. I'm looking forward to finishing a knitted cardigan. It's in chunky on huge needles that I was making for myself. Now, whether it will still fit me, as I have put on a lot of weight since then, but it's all sewn up, it's got buttons on it, and it just needs two sleeves, and they're on whopping needles, so why it's not finished, I don't know. And another one is a project I'm making for a friend of mine, can't say what it is, and that's been on the hook far, far too long. So, can't tell you what it is, you'll see it one day. Right, which project are you most excited about starting in 2018? Well, there isn't one. I get excited about every project I start, otherwise I wouldn't start it, would I? There's not one specific thing. I have to be excited, or how can I put it? Find the crojo to be creative with everything I do. Otherwise, I just hate doing it, which is why I never do amigurumis or blankets, because to me they're just a no-no in my book. They would just give me stress, the most stress. I've made cot blankets, baby blankets, but making a blanket for me, no. Which is why I was so grateful to be given for my birthday a lovely, lovely big blanket in granny squares. Because believe me, I would have never made one for myself. So thank you all very much who contributed to that. Number 3. Are there any new crochet stitches and techniques you would like to try in 2018? Well, both Sue and I have said we would like to brush up Tunisian. We both know the basic stitches of it, but we don't really know anything else, you know, because we've not put the time and the effort into learning it, to be quite frank with you, really. Other things I'm not interested in learning, like for example broomstick crochet, doesn't appeal to me at all. And this sort of Bruges lace where you go round, that doesn't appeal to me at all. I have to be interested, and it has to hold my interest before I want to do it, yeah? Will I be participating in a crochet along a Cal in 2018? No. They tend to be mystery blankets, and I would be bored out of my little socks before I even got past part 1. If you know me, I'm not one of the herd. I'm one of the rogue animals that does the opposite to what everybody else does. So if everybody is doing this shawl, everybody is doing that, I'm not doing it. I mean, I did cave in and make quite a few virus shawls, but I'm not in for this. I've never done a corner to corner blanket, and I have no plans to do one. I might do something else in corner to corner stitch, like a scarf or something, but no to blankets, no, no. Not me at all, yeah? Do I have any yarn goals for 2018? I think you all know the answer to that one, don't you? You can shout it at me. Buy less and crochet more. I want to be able to at least have everything that I sort of own on the shelves and not in boxes. There is still quite a lot in boxes that won't fit on my shelves of my craft room. So I really need to aim to at least make holes in the shelving so that I can put some of the other stuff that's still on the floor in boxes I've listened to, and it's not just thrown on the floor. So that's my crochet yarn goals. Stop buying yarn. It won't have, I mean, I'm going to have to buy some at some stage, because if I get orders and things like that and I don't have certain colours, then I am going to have to order. But I'm trying not to order for stash sake, if you know what I mean. Because I've got enough stash to last, trust me. Which crochet projects would you like to see more of in 2018? I don't know whether that means my crochet projects or I'd like to see other people's crochet projects. I mean, you know me, I'm always excited by garments. Garments are my thing. Everybody chooses what they like to make, you know. Whatever you like to make, it's fine by me. What if you want to make crochet socks, afghans, whatever you want to make, shawls and that's fine. You know, I would never make anybody crochet something that they didn't want to make, you know. But I tend to want to make crochet wearable, you know, so anything that is wearable is what I crochet. What do I look for when I sort of scour Pinterest or, you know, Ravelry and things? Are usually garments of some description. You know, I would skip over the toys, skip over everything else, unless I was looking for a hat or something. But I tend to just gravitate towards garments, yeah. So what would I like to see actually is more crochet runway projects. I know that Lion Brand do them, wonderful ones, and I know DIY Creations 7, is she called? Yes, she's done a catwalk video. I just love to see things on people, you know, as they walk up and down. And it doesn't matter how amateur the show is, you know, or whatever. It doesn't have to be, you know, like from Red Heart or from Karen or from somebody, you know. If it's just your ladies group just walking up and down on a catwalk with things that they've made themselves. I just wish there was more of those, yeah, because I get inspired by things like that. A shout out to fellow crocheter who you are excited to watch in 2018. I can't do that. I have got so many. There's so many lovely people out there, and I'm not going to single out one person and say that is the person I want to watch, because that is not right. That's mean, because I have literally. And who do I watch? I watch whoever's subject matter takes my fancy. I'm subscribed to like hundreds of people, but if they put up a subject matter, you know, that I'm not particularly interested in, I do like watching yarn hauls at times, but I tend not to at the moment, because a lot of them are from the US and I can't get the yarn anyway, and I've got too much yarn, as we've just explained. So I don't watch. I do watch tutorials, but I watch them when I want to watch them. I just sort of bookmark them for later. I don't want to sit through a tutorial when I don't intend to make that garment at the moment, yeah. I would watch the beginning of it, see what she's making, or he's making, she's making. And then if I think, oh yes, I might be interested in that later, I will bookmark it for later, yeah. Otherwise, if they're making whatever, an amigurumi especially, I just won't watch, yeah. And I'm sorry to all the people who make amigurumis. I love you all, you'll make wonderful things, but I tend not to watch your videos if you're making amigurumis, sorry. Are there any projects that you made in 2017 that you would like to make again in 2018? Quite a lot, actually. None that I can really name, except I plan to do more of these in different colours. I also plan to make some bags and things like that this coming And I did make them, but I didn't make them in 2017, the bags I'm thinking of making again. I made them in, oh, probably about 2015. So, yeah. And then it says tag someone, obviously to do this. Well, since I'm late to the party, I think nearly everybody who wanted to do one of these has already been tagged. So I shall leave it up to yourselves. If you feel like you want to pick up the baton and do your own, feel free. But I'm not tagging any specific person because you've probably already done them already. Right, those were Zoe and Karen. Sorry, Karen, I only call you Kristen for some reason. And Karen and other people who did that tag, but they're the two that springs to mind. I think they're the two that tagged me actually. Now we get on to Rosita from the Philippines. She's just done a tag, which answers quite a lot of questions actually, because I never really knew how to pronounce the Sadia key, and I didn't know what Gantil Sierra meant, but she's explained all that and how she came by the names on her tag if you want to watch her. Right, her tags were, how long have you been crocheting? Well, I've been crocheting since I was about 13. I think I've said this before. I tried before, and my aunt had tried to teach me, but she was a brilliant crocheter, but she used to use a super duper fine thread and the little teeny weeny hooks you have to get your magnifying glass out to see the end of them, you know. She used to make doilies and the lovely crochet gloves that she used to wear on a Sunday to church. So she did try, but honest to goodness, I think I actually learned from a book, a Peyton's How to Crochet book. I was upstairs with a very severe bout of tonsillitis, which I suffered with all my life until I had my tonsils taken out when I was about 50. When I was a kid, they would never take them out, and oh, boy did I suffer. You know, I don't know why they won't take them out, but anyway, that's by the by. I was so ill, I had a temperature and everything. And my poor mother was downstairs, and bear in mind we lived over the shop. So she was downstairs in the shop trying to serve people. And of course I want a drink, I want this, I want that. So eventually she came upstairs with a ball of wool. It was wool in those days. A ball of wool, a crochet hook, and a learn to crochet book. And a drink. And she said, stop banging on the floor, yeah? Get on with this. Well, I had about, I don't know how many tries. The crocheting got flung across the room several times. I think I'm never, ever going to get the hang of this. And then, of course, my aunt, who had called to see how I was, and she was the beautiful crocheter, and she used to say, you'll never make a crochet until you stop shoveling it. Because what I was doing was I was putting it in like that and wrapping my, you know, around like I was knitting. Going like that, over, through. She said, you'll never make a crochet unless you hold your hook the right way. Look at the pictures in the book. Hold your hook like a pencil or a knife or whatever, you know, whichever way you choose. Mine's like a pencil. So then I tried again and the penny dropped. And the first thing I ever crocheted, believe it or not, was a sweater for myself with long sleeves without a pattern. I got a long sleeved sweater, a bought sweater, out of the wardrobe, and I just crocheted round it. And that was my first sweater. Right, I think I've already answered this. How did I learn and who taught you? Nobody taught me, I taught myself. So I think I've answered 1 and 2, didn't I, already? Number 3, why did I start making YouTube videos? Because I had a blog. I started it as an online diary to myself. And I had a few followers. But I got so fed up of typing, adding photos in here, adding photos in there, rearranging them. I got fed up with that. I thought there must be an easier way. And then I started watching people on YouTube and I thought that's an easier way. But if you watch my very first YouTube videos, I had a camera that only recorded for 7 minutes, would you believe? Then it cut off. It was a battery powered one that wasn't a recharge, it was just a battery powered one, and it just kept cutting off. And then I did buy another camera, and that one lasted I think about 14 or 20 minutes. And then I actually bought this camera, which is not the bee's knees, but it'll have to do. Because as you know, I'm so rich I can afford to buy all this fantastic equipment. Yeah, no. Like the rest of you. Unless you're one of the fortunate few, like the rest of you, we have to make do with what we've got. So that's why I started making YouTube videos, never expecting anybody to actually look at them. It was just that I was making everything to either give away or try to sell. And once they'd gone, I didn't have much record of anything. Because I got fed up putting things on Ravelry, because it was always the same. Can I have the pattern please? Can I have the pattern please? And as much as I told people that I crochet from vintage patterns, or I crochet from my head. So I got absolutely fed up, you know, with people being quite nasty in some respects about, you know, don't ask her for the pattern, she won't give them. She's, you know, she's mean like that, she won't share with anybody. And I thought, oh, I'm not getting this reputation. I thought, I'm just going to back away. Can do without it. Confrontation I generally walk away from. It's the best thing to do, isn't it? Ignore, walk away. Right, 4, what's your favourite type of project to make? Well, it always used to be babies things. I absolutely loved making babies, cardigans, hats, everything like that. But they didn't sell. I did go, when I had more money than I do now, I did make an awful lot for the premature baby unit up at Bolton. But the lady who I used to, well, a friend of mine used to give them to, she left the pub. She was like landlady of a pub. She left the pub, she retired. And as I don't have a car anymore, I can't get to these places. So I sort of tapered off a bit, because the knit group I was belonging to, that was supposed to be doing all these things as a knit group, yeah, I seemed to be the only one that was doing them. And yet they were being donated in the name of the group. And I thought, oh, hang on a minute, you know, I'm the only one that's actually making these things. So I got a bit, you know, as you might imagine. I mean, I'm not a glory girl, but I would have liked a bit of recognition that it was only me that was making them, and not everybody else, yeah. Not the knit group as a whole. Which happened a lot to me with that knit group, to be truthful. But I'm not going to name them, and I'm not going to say any more. End of. Do members of your family crochet or do crafts? Well, my late family. I don't mean late in the fact that I've fallen out with them, I mean my late family. I was brought up in a very crafty household at home, and my grandma lived about 6-8 houses further up the same street as me. So when I was a little kiddie, I used to float between the 2 houses because I didn't have to cross a road. And my mum would hang out the front door, watch me till I went in my grandma's, yeah. And my aunts would do the same thing. They would watch me until I got back in my house, yeah. So I was quite safe. So TV was a bit of a rarity. You know, some people had TVs, but most people didn't. So it was quite the norm, really. I had a couple of aunts who weren't married, and another aunt who'd been widowed. So they used to congregate with Grandma, yeah, because Grandma was bedridden when I was little, and she used to have a bed downstairs, which was quite normal. You know, if anybody was elderly, you know, you didn't farm them off, you looked after them, didn't you? And I had my auntie Janie. She was a tailoress, and she stayed at home for a long time doing tailoressing, until sort of like the bottom fell out the market, if you know what I mean. She did a lot of work during the war, when everything was on ration, and it was all make do men. Excuse me, I'm choking here. And I think I might have a drink while we're at it. You have to excuse me for a moment, but I'm choking myself here. She did a lot of work. She had a lot of customers in the war years or just after the war years when you couldn't get fabric. And she would do a lot of make do mend, you know, cutting things down to fit other people, taking things in, altering them, you know, putting a new collar on a dress or a new belt or something to make it look a bit different than, you know. And she used to make a lot of my clothes as well and things like that, because my mum would go to jumble sales, which is the forerunner of a thrift shop. People used to cast off their things they didn't want, and they used to be in big heaps on tables, not hung up on hangers like they are today. It wasn't that posh. And they'd have children's clothes, baby's clothes, you know, whatever. And Mum would go through, and if she found like a lady's dress that had a hole in it, a rip in it or something like that, if the fabric was quite good apart from that, she would buy it, and then my aunt would cut it down and make a dress for me. I mean, I did have some very strange dresses when I was little, you know, in sort of like adult material instead of little girl material. But I did used to get little girl dresses made by my aunt out of a print that, if you're in the UK, you might remember, called Miss Muffet print. It had tiny little things on it like flowers and dogs and cats and that. It was very, very fashionable or popular with little girls. That was when, later when the material came off coupons and it was more available. My Aunt Janie also used to crochet, and she also used to knit. She never knitted any cardigans. I don't ever remember her knitting cardigans. I think she knitted a couple of sleeveless jumpers, but she knitted very fine yarn and very fine, you know. She knitted mostly like mittens or gloves. People knitted gloves in those days in very, very thin yarn. I mean, now you get them and it's thick yarn and they're like a bunch of bananas stuck on the end of your finger, aren't they? And then her sister, these were the two aunts that didn't get married. My Auntie Alice, or Mary Alice as she was called, Mary Alice. She was absolutely fantastic embroiderer. She taught me to embroider, but you would never know it now. And when I got engaged, she actually presented me with a tablecloth that I'd started, and she'd kept it. I'd done like one corner. There's like 4 corners usually on a table. I'd done one corner of a crinoline lady. So she finished it all off and gave it to me for an engagement present. Still got it. Sadly, she died before I got married, so she didn't see me get married, but that's by the by. Then my Auntie Mary, as we used to call her, other people used to call her Marie, Auntie Marie, but she was always Mariah, actually, she was called, but we used to call her Auntie Mary. I mean, you don't hear the name Mariah, do you now? It was Mariah, not Maria. Mariah. That's how it was pronounced by my grandma when she called her the name. She used to do a lot of sewing, and she used to knit as well. But she also used to dress little dollies that she used to sell, I think, or donate for Christmas gifts, you know, to children who didn't have anything. And she used to fascinate me because she'd spent ages doing these dollies. She'd either sew them, the clothes for them, or whatever. And she was the one who encouraged me to make clothes for my dollies. Because my mum, no patience. She used to call them all doll rags. She used to get annoyed with me because I used to make little dresses with bits of fabric and tie them round and put pipe cleaners for arms on her clothes pegs. Not the spring clothes pegs, you know, the old-fashioned clothes pegs with 2 prongs. So when it was washing day, she used to get extremely annoyed because she didn't want to peg her sheets out with my dolls. So she would rip all the clothes off and throw them in the bin. So no wonder I'm, you know, thwarted in a lot of things I used to do. And then my Auntie Rosalie, who was an auntie by marriage, she married my uncle. She was a fantastic knitter, and she also used to do the hook rugs, you know, where you get little strands of rug yarn and you bent them in half, and it's a bit like they latch it, a bit like fringing, but it's latched. And her and my uncle used to make all these rugs out of ready cut wool, it was, if you ever remember it. But she was an absolutely fabulous knitter. Now she did make me a full outfit for one of my dolls one Christmas. It was superb. It was done in the finest of yarn, like your lace weight or fingering. Full set she made me. my mum said, she's stupid for giving all these things. She could make that for a baby. My Auntie Rosaline actually is still alive, and she's well in her 90s now. But she's still with us, yeah. I think she's the only one on my dad's side. I don't think we've got anybody else left. Everybody else is gone, except my Auntie Rosaline. Right, my mum, of course, used to knit. I told you about that. She had a knitting machine, and she used to spend hours and hours knitting on this machine. Then she used to knit socks on a circular knitting machine. And that was how she made enough money for us to move and get the first wool shop. It was all by my mum. And when she wasn't doing knitting on the knitting machine, she was doing the housewife shift at the mill, which was either in the cotton mill, or she went to do biscuits, or she went to work for a chewer knitwear place called Madeline Russell. If you're old enough and you live locally to me, you might remember. And she used to do all that sort of thing. She was a grafter, my mum. It's no wonder she wore her back out. I think that's where I get my always on the go stuff, because until this happened to me with my spine and my legs and my knees, I never stopped. I was always on the go. The house was spick and span from top to bottom. And I used to work full time, and I used to knit on the knitting machine in the evenings when I came home. And as I told you before, I used to crochet for a boutique in Oldham. And so, you know, I was never idle. My mother used to say, you know, the devil makes work for idle hands. And if I was sat there, she would allow me if I was reading, to just sit there reading. But couldn't sit there and watch television. Couldn't sit there in a chair and not have something in your fingers to do. Like a slave. A sweatshop, isn't it? No, it was never that bad. My son and his family, no crafts whatsoever, unless you'd call my son tinkering with motorbikes and cars and things like that. As far as I know, my daughter-in-law doesn't do any crafting of any description, nor do any of her children. I've got lots of friends, obviously. All of you. And my real life friends, if you know what I mean. I'm lucky enough to have friends that I can chat crochet to. You all know I've got Sue, I've got Kelly, I've got Christina. A few people that I meet face to face. And I've got loads of friends on Facebook, loads of friends on YouTube. So I don't feel like starved of any Yarny friends. So I've got all of those, yeah. And number 6, this was what I think this is one that Rose added on, because people were always asking her the meaning of her name. So I thought I'd explain a little about the meaning of my name, which is the Urban Gypsy Crochet, or Urban Gypsy, whichever way. Put my bit of paper down. When I was fit and able, but having twinges of backache, years back when I was still working, somebody suggested that belly dancing, not ballet, belly dancing would be good to keep my spine muscles, you know, keep my spine and keep me mobile. I went to classes. I loved it, but sadly, it didn't love me. I had to give it up. But the lady who ran the class was called Katie. And at the time, she used to dance with a group called the Urban Gypsies. They've even been on television. I think they've been on these X Factor things, or Britain's Got Talent or something. And my ambition when I first started doing lessons was to one day be good enough to dance, you know, with the Urban Gypsy troupe, even if it was, you know, just now and again. I didn't think I'd ever make the grade, like to be one of them. And I did dance with them, but only on informal occasions, you know, when they did the carnival in the park and things like that. And when I was thinking of a name for myself, I just liked the name Urban Gypsy. Because I am a bit gypsy-ish, as you know. I don't mean I've got a caravan out the back or anything like that. I just boho-y, you know. This is my if I got away with it, I would dress head to foot in boho, lace, everything like that. But it's a bit OTT for where I live. I would get a few strange looks. They're just not that with it round here. So that's why I call myself Urban Gypsy. And then I thought, well, that doesn't really match up with what I do. So when I had to make my Etsy shop, because I got to the stage where my pension was dwindling down and I wasn't able to buy the yarn I wanted, so I decided to open the Etsy shop. So I decided to call it Urban Gypsy Crochet. So that's where the name came from. When I first started the shop, I'd started with what my love was at the time, which was baby stuff. And it was hugely disappointing because nobody bought anything. And I thought, well, this is, you know. So I thought, well, I'll start with something a bit more normal. Well, normal for me. But I still would love to have the niche, you know, like Jan Cherry has, with the boho, the bright colours, the everything. But sadly, I don't really have the customer base for that. But that is what I would really love to do. And this is what I'm sort of working on at the moment. But as I said, I'll show you when I've finished it. It does involve granny stitches. It does involve granny squares. But I'll show you when I'm done. And I mean, I had thought about making another of the granny square coats. But I don't know whether anybody would be prepared to pay as much, you know, because even these take up so much time. You know, it's sewing, every colour on here had two ends, yeah? So you're talking about an awful lot of ends I had to sew in. And the granny square coats are worse because they've got like, what, about 70 squares, I think, in a jacket. Something like that. And each colour has got like two ends, hasn't it? And you can have, what, about 4 or 5 colours in each square. So you multiply that by 70 squares. I mean, I'd be perfectly willing to do them for Etsy, but I don't know what your thoughts are. But would anybody be prepared to pay me enough money for me to put like 2 weeks of my time on one side to make one jacket? Because that's what it would be, really. So, you know, if you're talking money-wise, you'd never get... I mean, I never will make a profit from my Urban Gypsy Crochet, never will. But I do like to break even a bit, you know, and have enough, a little bit of money left over to buy some spare stock, you know. I did think today I was going to be able to manage to take some photographs. As you know, I've got about 20 things to list. Lovely and sunny, but when we went outside, Gigi and I nearly got blown away. So I thought, no, you're trying to take a photograph of a cardigan and its sleeves are doing this in the wind. It's not easy, is it? And my house is, I'll hold my hand up, cluttered. Crafty cluttered. It's not cluttered as in junk. It's not cluttered as in, I'm a hoarder. I don't have, you know, tin cans everywhere and papers on the floor, but it's just full of craft everywhere you look. There's either something finished, or there's something in progress, or there's some yarn in a bag or a box or a project bag or whatever. So, oops, excuse me, I need another drink. So I don't have a spare wall anywhere, you know, where I could actually take photographs. But I really don't like taking photographs of anything in the artificial light, because the colours don't come out true, you know, they alter. I mean, the cardigan I've made that I'm still waiting to pad out, my lady butt over there, we don't know what we're going to call her, a Hattie I think was Sue's suggestion. Everybody thinks it's grey because that's the way it looks on the photos, and it's actually a beige. So it is very difficult, you know, even when you're taking photographs for Etsy, you know, I'm thinking, I hope people are not disappointed when they turn up and they don't look exactly the same as they did on their monitor. I mean, that's happened to me a few times, you know, as you know, I'm a great eBay buyer for clothes. I'm definitely a second-hand rose. I don't really have anything new unless it's a gift. No, nearly everything else. Shoes I will buy new, but not expensive shoes. But, I mean, to be truthful, I don't need expensive shoes because my walking is very, very limited. So I don't tend to wear shoes out anymore. I've still got shoes from, what, 10 years ago, and they're still as good as new, if you know what I mean. So, but I did get rid of all my high heels. I decided I would never ever wear them again. Anyway, as far as the tag goes, I think that's the end of my tag. Christina was going to call today, but she got delayed. She had to work. Monday next week I'm actually getting the injection in my spine, so I probably won't see Sue. I may see her later in the week, so you may get a video from both of us. But my injection is at the time when she normally arrives, so can't do that. I can never tell with the injections. Sometimes I go and I'm out again in a couple of hours, but the last injection I had, I was there all day. I went in at 10 o'clock and I didn't get my injection until 6 in the evening. So I will take a book with me, and I will take my crochet when I decide what I'm going to take with me. Because I have like hospital crochet, which usually involves like a virus shawl or something that I don't have to think about. Because, you know, the people are taking your blood pressure, and because I'm diabetic, they're stabbing my finger. There's always somebody coming asking you some questions and doing some questionnaire things when you're there. So I can't concentrate on a pattern I have to think about. So it'll have to be something in a granny square, or a granny stitch, or it'll have to be a virus shawl. I haven't made my mind up yet. So, well, for me now, I'm going to go and make my pancakes, because it was Shrove Tuesday here in the UK. I don't know whether you celebrate in the US. And Pancake Day is Shrove Tuesday. But I think Tuesday was one of my duvet days where I just didn't feel like doing anything, and I didn't get dressed, if I remember rightly. So, I didn't make them. So I'm going to have Pancake Thursday. What's going on them? Traditional sugar and lemon juice. I do have some strawberries in the fridge which I could put on them, but I think I'll stick to being traditional. My mum always made me pancakes with lemon and sugar, and that's the way I've always ate them. I know they make them with fancy dancy things on them and chocolate and all sorts of spready stuff on them, but I think I'll just stick with lemon and sugar. And on that note, I will say cheers to you in my very ratty-tatty mug that Christina wanted to throw away. I'm kind of attached to it. I don't like the little nitty little titchy little mugs that everybody seems to have. I've got 3 big mugs. One was sent to me by Grace. I think the other was sent to me by Z. Z's got another video out, Zeldon NRJ3. Those of you who've been missing Z, because she's been missing for a long time, she's back making videos. I think Z sent me one, and this, I don't know where I got this from, I acquired it. So I've got 3 mugs, and because I don't like washing up, I tend to just rotate 3 mugs until I have to wash up. We've all got our faults. I don't know what yours are, but I know what mine are. And I'm not telling you all of them. You have to guess. So, happy Thursday. If you want to do any of these tags, feel free to do so. As I said before, I'm not tagging anybody. Feel free. And I'm not writing the questions in the box below because I'm too lazy. So I'll see you all. Bye for now. Oh, I can't get up. Bye for now.